Hello there, and welcome to Dan's show for financial security sales professionals. Today is Friday, May 6th, and this is where we talk about the business of selling annuities, life insurance, healthcare coverage, and employee benefits. My name is Dan Vignon with WebPres Videos, and my partner here is Lloyd Lofton with Power Behind the Sales. On this week's show, we will be discussing how to create and use a marketing plan, both the strategy and the process. But before we get into that, if you would like to join our discussion today live on YouTube, please look over to your right to the far right of the chat where it says private chat. That's a tab at the bottom there on the right side, and then click on that for the link that's provided, and that will alert us that you are waiting in queue to be admitted onto the live screen. Okay, let's get started. Lloyd, let's begin with the importance of having a marketing plan. Not just the importance, but it's critically essential. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. I remember in Des Moines, Iowa, I had 40 agents in a classroom. We had flown them in from a bunch of different states. And one guy sitting in the room used to work as a financial advisor at a place. And he came over to the company that I was doing this training for. And he raised his hand and he said, when I said to him, you need to have a marketing plan so that you know who to market to. He said, well, I sell life insurance and I sell it to everybody.
Yeah.
And I said to him, well, let me ask you a question. There's like 360 million people in the country. Assume 80 million of them are adults that buy life insurance. Do you have the resources to get all their information and market to them? And you can see his eyeballs got like that big. He was mad at me for saying it.
Of course.
He's in the front of the rest of the room. And he said, well, no. I said, maybe what we need to do is target that group of people that would be most likely to respond to you. How would that work? Yeah. And he bought that. And the reason he bought it is because agents are not taught to be business people. They get their license, they get a piece of paper, and they think they're in business. But any business person, go to a bank and try and get a small business loan, and the first thing they want to know is, what's your plan?
Right, exactly.
What's your business plan? What's your marketing plan? And you actually have to have assets to even get it. You don't have to have assets to become an agent.
Right.
Which is funny,
Yeah, which is comical. But so you have to have a marketing plan. Every business person has to have a marketing plan, and every insurance agent or financial advisor must have a marketing plan. So describe or explain to me what you mean by a marketing plan. What are the elements of a marketing plan? What does it do? What does it look like? How do you put one together?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm thinking of when I think of a marketing plan. I'm going to show it to you. Okay. Now, this is for like final expense. So this is just an example. If you were to have a marketing plan for final expense, and on this marketing plan, you think you can see it okay? Do I need to make it bigger?
No, I can see it.
All right. So on this marketing plan, really what we're talking about is, why are you in business? And the reason I think why having that on there, I think back to the nights where it's 8:00 at night. I'm in my car. I'm out in a neighborhood that's 50 miles from home. I've made 3 presentations. I haven't made a sale. I called my wife and said, I'm getting ready to come home. And this is a true story. I'm in Johnson, Tennessee. And my wife said, did you make a sale? Which no salesperson wants to hear. Right? If I made a sale, I would already called and told you I made a damn sale. Don't ask me if I made a sale.
Right.
It's 8:00. And I said, no. And she said, why are you coming home? She was a great wife, and she was a motivator. So
Yeah.
part of my marketing plan is the first thing was to have a mission statement. Why am I in business?
Yeah.
I need to have a clear understanding. So when those type of situations hit, you kind of know why you're in business. So
Something
you
to fall back on.
can, so you can persevere.
Yeah.
And then what is your business? I mean, what is your business? So when you say you sell life insurance and annuities and whatever it is, what problems are you solving with people?
Right.
Because if all you say is, hey, I sell annuities, call me if you're interested, you're not selling to a hungry crowd. You need to figure
Right.
out problems you solve. And then who is your customer? Once you kind of figure that out, why I'm in business, what is my business, and who is my customer, then you can come down and you can kind of start figuring out what your annual income is going to be. You can kind of figure out, when you figure out what your annual income is going to be, you can break that down to a monthly and a weekly figure. And once you break that down to a monthly and weekly figure, you can figure out what products will make you that kind of money. And then once you figure out what product, and I always tell agents, when you're first starting off in the business, find a product that you're comfortable with, because there's nothing worse. I tell agents, when you're sitting in the house and you got the laptop, or you're sitting in a Zoom call and you're looking around like this on your screen because you're trying to get some app to work on there, every 10 seconds that prospect stares at you not knowing what you're doing tears up 10% of your confidence.
Mm-hmm.
You want to present a product that you're comfortable presenting. And then you need to figure out what problem that product solves. And then once you figure out what problem that product solves, then you want, sorry, I'm moving the mouse around here to do something. Then you want to figure out, well, who buys that product? And then once you figure out who buys it, well, where do I get a hold of them? Where do they congregate at?
Right.
And the reason you want to figure out where they congregate at is because that's where your lead sources come from.
Mm-hmm.
So if they congregate, if they read 12 different magazines, online magazines, then I know if I run a Facebook ad and I push my ad and I make part of my audience 8 of those 12 magazines that my target market typically goes and looks at, my ad will show up in their feed because that's where they congregate at.
Okay, we're getting a little bit ahead here. So I see that you're very enthusiastic and exuberant about a marketing plan. So let's just kind of summarize. The marketing plan really begins with how much money you want your business to earn over a year. Usually it's a calendar year, but it could be a fiscal year. But anyway, over a 12-month period. And then you break that down into 12 months, and each month is a period. And then you could further break it down into weeks, right?
Right.
Okay, so that could be 52 weeks, it could be 12 months. But anyway, you break down the larger one into a smaller one so that you can focus on one thing at a time. Instead of focusing on, say, $200,000 of income or $240,000 of income, you can say, well, I want to do $24,000 a month on average, and that means $6,000 a week. And so if that's consistent with what you're selling, now if you're selling final expense, you'd have to have a pretty efficient operation to be doing $6,000 a week. But it's not that it can't be done. It's just that you have to plan for it, and you have to have a marketing strategy that allows you to do that week after week after week. And again, you also have to plan. This is part of your strategy, or part of your plan, is of those 52 weeks or those 12 months, are you going to take a month off for vacation? Are you going to take some time off for holidays? How many weeks, how many days you are actually going to be working? Do you want to work weekends? Do you want to work nights? That's all part of the marketing plan. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
$100,000 a year is $8,333 a month, $2,100 a week, $400 a day. Yeah, that's a pretty simple formula to run, right?
Right.
So what's one product you can sell today, make $400? That's the plan. There's your plan.
That's a simple plan. Yeah, it can be as simple as that, but it can also be more complicated if you are doing, if you're doing maybe annuities where your commissions are potentially higher, or life insurance. Depends on the market you're in, whether you're in a middle class or an upper class or a high net worth class. All of those things play into your marketing plan. But to ignore all of those variables and just wing it is, one, it's not professional, and it's no way to run a business, and you'll always be dissatisfied with the results. I mean, you'll have months where you just go, oh, wow, this is my biggest month ever. And then next month, I mean, we've all been there. I mean, you and I have done this, and I haven't talked to an agent or a financial advisor who has not had ups and downs. All sales professionals do that. And you have ups and downs because you don't have a marketing plan, and there's no consistency, or there's no method, or there's no process that you can rely on. And one, at least for me, and I think for everyone I've talked with in the sales business, consistency is the thing that relieves the stress. You know, if you can come into the office every Monday knowing that, look, I don't know if I'm going to have 2 leads on my desk today, 0 leads, or 20 leads. I don't know. But I know over the next 5 days, I'm going to have 20 leads. I know that. That's because that's my process. They don't all come in at once. And it's the same thing with your marketing plan. You know, you might have a month that's off the charts, you know, where you do double what your average is. And then you're going to have a month where you do half of what your average is. But by being consistent, by having a method, by having a process, and committing yourself to it, and I want to ask you about the commitment issue, but by committing yourself to it, you relieve the stress. You know that you have a process that, come hell or high water, good days and bad days, sickness and health, you're always going to be able to hit your numbers for the year. So talk about the kind of commitment that creates persistency and consistency and reliability and dependability.
Well, let's jump off of what you just said, which was eloquently put and a perfect example of it. Most agents and advisors feel like their income is like this, right?
Right.
And the reason their income is like this is because their marketing and activity is like this.
Probably so.
When you put a marketing plan together and an activity plan, and you follow it for 90 days, then you get a pattern.
Yes.
And that pattern informs you and instructs you. It does 2 things. It informs you and instructs you what to do the next 90 days.
Right.
And the second 90 days, you don't just walk away and wait for it to happen. You monitor it so you can adjust in real time of what's happening. So what's the commitment? Well, the first commitment is to recognize that without a marketing plan and without an activity plan, you're subject to the whims of what you get from lead vendors. And so the reason your income is up and down, I don't know a salesman out there, and I've been doing this for a long time. I don't know a salesman out there that gets a lead, runs the lead, makes the sale, and says, you know what? I made this sale because that lead company is a great lead company.
Right.
They did a great job. They come back to the office and they say, I made the sale because I'm a great salesman. I had them under the ether, man. I had them hooked. They bought from me because they had no choice. I did a great job. But when they go out and run the lead and don't make the sale, they don't say, I didn't listen to understand. I listened to respond. They don't say, I didn't pay attention to dominant buying motives. They don't say, I didn't ask the right questions. They don't say, I didn't try and close. They say, the lead sucked.
All right, now you're introducing another thing, and I think this goes with consistency and persistency, and that is skill set. We all like to think when we're in sales, we all like to think that we've studied our profession. We have developed skills as salespeople, and I think that means different things to different people. But in fact, you're absolutely correct. In my early years, I would say in my first 5 years, I was not a good salesperson. I was not well trained. I did not know how to conduct a successful interview, the right questions to ask. I did not know how to lead the prospect to a buying decision. And it was very disheartening for me. What would you tell somebody who's, and I would say even after 15 or 20 years, I was not the consummate sales professional. I was still learning. I was still making mistakes. So what would you tell the people in our audience who consider themselves financial security sales professionals, whether they're selling annuities or life insurance or health insurance or benefits or doing financial planning? What would you tell them in terms of their skill set as a sales professional relative to their marketing plan?
Well, I think that I had a sales manager early in my career, and he used to say that that every week you get a piece of paper, Lloyd, and on that piece of paper, on the top right-hand side, it had a dot and 2 zeros, and then some zeros in front of it. And whatever those numbers were in front of that dot and 2 zeros represented the value that you brought to this agency that week, whether it was $100 or $10,000. And so if the figures that were right before that dot and 2 zeros weren't what you wanted it to be, then that just represents what you were worth. And so the commitment is to for us to grow. Our ego stunts your growth, right?
Yeah.
So we have to get out of our own way. We have to be willing to look in the mirror. And I say this at the end of every show, right? When you look in the mirror, if you don't see a highly trained licensed professional, neither will your prospect.
Right.
But listen, I've been doing this for a long time, and I can promise you, I probably had 2 calls last week where I didn't do a great job on the call.
Yeah.
It hit me at the wrong time. I wasn't in the right mood about it. Maybe my AFib was acting up.
Right.
I could have had 10,000 things going on. Maybe whatever. I got frustrated with something else. I let it spill. We all do this. We're just human. The skill set is to have the emotional maturity after each call to say, what can I do different on the next call? Not I'm a bad salesperson. I did a bad job. I'm not good. I'll never succeed at this. We all go through that. You say that to yourself. We all say that. You're just normal.
Right.
The skill set is to be able to stop and do that Ben Franklin. Take that piece of paper and draw that line down the center of the page and write on there emotion logic. And then after every phone call, make a list of the things that you said that were emotion, the things you said were logic, the things the prospect said were emotion, the things the prospect said were logic, and figure out what you could have done different. And then let it go, make your next phone call. And then here's the biggest skill set. At the end of the day, forgive yourself. Just forgive yourself. I don't care if you made 5 sales today or no sale. I don't care if you spent $1,000 on marketing last week and you haven't made a dime today. Just forgive yourself. If you can't develop the emotional skill set to let it go, then it's going to spill over and infect you tomorrow. And prospects can smell desperation through the internet. The internet carries that aroma with it right into their living room. And we have to learn to let that go. I would say before any other skill set, picking your lead vendor, picking your lead type, getting your phone script, asking the questions, but before all of that kind of stuff, all we have to do, the skill set of having our confidence is exactly like dieting. You can always start your diet over tomorrow. People don't fail at dieting. They just don't complete the diet today. You can wake up tomorrow and start a diet again. You can wake up tomorrow and start off new, but you've got to let it go. I mean, to me, that's the skill set.
Yeah. So let's address the practical. So segue from what you just said. You can wake up tomorrow and do it differently. So I'm a financial security sales professional. I'm selling. Maybe I sell a little bit of everything. I sell life insurance. I sell annuities. Maybe I sell some health insurance. Maybe I work with business owners and do employee benefits. Whatever I do, I've been in the business for 5 or 10 years. And my sales vary month by month. Sometimes I buy some leads. Sometimes I get some referrals. Sometimes I knock on doors, meaning, business owners, or I try to do some things. I'm all over the place. What would you tell me right now, what should I do to create a marketing plan, have a strategy, build a process on that? What do I start with right now? And then let's take that first. So the second part is, what skill set do I need to develop in order to execute on that marketing plan? But the first question is, I just gave you a scenario. Tell me what I should do starting tomorrow. How do I put this plan together?
So what we want to get rid of tomorrow is the sometimes. That's what we've got to eliminate, is the sometimes. Well, we got to figure out what you're going to do all the time. And so you need three things to do something all the time. You need a team. So you're just one person running your small business out of your home. And you do not have the time, the resources, or the skills, and hopefully you've got the smarts to know you don't have these things to generate all your own leads. You're not a lead company. You're a highly trained, licensed professional. You got in this business to solve problems with people by providing products for them that will eliminate, reduce, start, or stop things for them. And you're not a lead vendor. If you want to generate leads, then quit being an insurance agent and go get a job as a lead vendor. So you got to have a team. You got to have at least two decent lead vendors, at least two, preferably three. You need
Can I interrupt you for just a second? Because I just want to clarify something. I totally agree with what you're saying. What I call them are, in business, they're resources. So all businesses have resources. They may be raw materials. They may be, if I'm a wholesale distributor, I buy goods from different manufacturers. I warehouse them, then I market them. So what you're talking about is all businesses have vendors, partnerships, resources where that help to build their business. I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you take a typical company with 100 or more employees, they have a marketing department.
Yeah.
And that marketing department contracts with vendors to get leads.
Yeah.
Right. But you're one person.
Right.
So you need at least three lead vendors.
You need to leverage yourself. You need to leverage resources.
You need to leverage yourself, and you need to leverage the resources that will bring you your business. Then the second thing you need to do is that you need to have an activity plan. You need to have a plan for what you're going to do with not only the leads that come in, but the contacts that you get. And then the third thing you need to do is you need to have a follow-up system in place, because not every, let's say you got 15 leads this week. Not all of them, maybe. Let's say you're a decent salesperson and you close 20%. Okay. If you got 15 leads and you talk to 10 of them and you close 20%, that's 2 sales. But maybe 6 of the 8 that you didn't close won't follow up from you. You've got to have time in your plan to follow up with these people. And even the people that didn't buy from you may be open to an opportunity to solve a problem sometime in the future if you're still in front of them. That's why your platform is such a great platform. I can set up a sequence of emails inside a funnel that over a period of 6 months keeps me in front of the prospect that didn't buy from me. And so they get in a car accident, a family member gets sick, someone gets COVID, an aunt dies, something happens in their life cycle, and an email pops up about a video of how to reduce taxes, eliminate this, start this, stop this. And they think, I'm going to click on that because something happened. But if your frame of reference is, I bought 10 leads and I only got a hold of 2 of them, and these other 8 people don't answer the phone, and you throw them away, well, let's just be honest, you're not really running a business. You're looking for someone to buy from you.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me, so it sounds like in creating your marketing plan, you need to outsource or resource. And you mentioned leads. And of course, that's a very common thing, depending on the nature of your business. And everybody has purchased leads, and some have worked out and many of them don't. So instead of leads, where you're buying leads in your business, what do you think, Lloyd, of prospecting, getting referrals, knocking on doors, and I mean that metaphorically, not necessarily literally, but making cold calls, but going out. And to me, one of the things that I was not really taught well when I came into the business, and talking with a lot of agents and advisors, I see that there's a dearth of skill set in the area of engaging either strangers or developing relationships personally. So what I see is there are 2 ways of doing this business, and one is, let me, outsource to a lead vendor, somebody who's either going to sell me the leads or do the direct mail or the email and produce leads for me, or set up workshops and then I'll get the leads from that. And then the alternative is, am I going to go out and do mixers, Better Business Bureau mixers, or am I going to be active in my church or active in my community or socially active at the country club, or whatever is available. I think a couple of weeks ago, we had one of our audience members, I hope he's on today, Ken Lake, and he talked about how he got a booth at a community festival. I forgot what it was, whether it was fundraising or whatever. And I thought that's a brilliant way to do, to take it upon yourself to get out into the community, to shake hands with people, kind of like a politician, but you meet people. And then there's a skill set to that, to being able to meet people. And of course, you have to be a gregarious personality. If you're introverted and you don't like to talk to people, you're probably in the wrong business. But if you do like talking to people, not only is it a skill set to engage people and to find places where you can engage people. I'm going to ask you to talk about your three ways, but also, what do you say to engage them? Because I think that's what people aren't taught enough for. And with my background in neurolinguistics and cognitive science and communication science and that sort of thing, the words we use and the way we use them and the way we break through that aura of distraction or disinterest or being overwhelmed with information is really, in my opinion, probably one of the two top skill sets that all sales professionals must have. That ability to break through and make a first impression that leads to an ongoing relationship. Talk to me about the three ways that you can prospect for business. I think you called them where you play, pay, and pray. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, what I learned, this is before the internet, is that you prospect where you pay, where you play, and where you pray. And so just briefly, I'll mention each one of them. So if you belong to a church, they have a church directory. And here's what agents have told me over the years. Well, I don't talk to people at my church about insurance. I don't want to be pushy. And I think that's kind of funny because we moved from California, Yorba Linda, California, to Knoxville, Tennessee. And the first time we went to church, we were sitting in the back of the church, and the minister had a lady come up whose husband died. She had 2 kids, and he gave a talk about what a great husband the guy was, how he was active in the church, blah, 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 that they didn't have insurance, and they were taking up a collection to help pay for his funeral. And I watched in amazement, just amazement, as the basket went around aisle after aisle. It came to us. I took $20 out of my pocket. I gave it to my son, who's also named Lloyd, sitting next to me. Told him, put it in the basket. And I thought, this is funny. I can't be the only insurance agent in this church. There has to be other agents and advisors here. And it's ironic to me that an agent doesn't want to be pushy with his church members, but he'll put $20 in a basket to pay for a funeral instead of approaching the guy when he was alive, having enough respect for him and his family to approach him with the idea that at his death, his family might have to stand in front of the church and beg for money and solve this problem for the family before it ever occurred.
Now that's a great story, but therein lies the lesson. So the first lesson is somebody should have talked to them before this guy died and they didn't have to pass the plate. But here's the second part. That is a critical opportunity, and I tell agents this all the time. If you're in a church, and this happens whether you're church, synagogue, whatever, and somebody in the community dies, everybody in the community knows about it. Everybody's sense of mortality is heightened. All you need to do is get on the phone very graciously, very genuinely, very authentically, say, hey, even if they don't know you that well, maybe you don't know, you've probably seen me in church or synagogue and every week, And I'm part of the community. And I know we just lamented the loss of Mr. Jones. And I don't know how well you knew him, but my business is helping widows and widowers survive and to prosper when a spouse in the family dies. And I'm very sensitive to it. And I don't know, are you sensitive? Do you think this is a time when you'd like to review your life insurance? So now, if that's a perfect time for them to say, I know that somebody, maybe they're young, maybe they're old, in our community just died. And maybe I went to the funeral, we certainly are aware of it, but my sense of mortality and the ramifications of that mortality, particularly if the minister is up there saying, hey, we need to collect some funds because this poor woman and her 2 children are in dire straits. And what a perfect opportunity to call everybody in the community and just say, hey, we're all in this together, and I happen to help people prevent that from happening. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Remember, I mentioned earlier about figuring out where your prospects congregate?
Yeah.
How about go to the minister? Because every church has clubs, the Helping Hands Club, Women's Club. How about go to the minister and say, hey, I'm willing to put on a free seminar.
Oh, great idea.
To talk to people about how to file a claim, how to handle bank accounts if you don't have a will or trust, because the minute the guy dies, if the wife's not in his checking account, she can't access the money.
Yeah.
How to title your house. I mean, I can think of 7 or 8 different things. I'll put on a free seminar for them, and then I'll tell them the different type of life insurance plans that they could get that will prevent them from having to be in the same position of asking for money to bury a loved one. And my guess is that minister, the churches, particularly now, 2022, if you go out on Google and you look at the surveys right now, what you find is donations have dropped for churches. And the reason donations have dropped precipitously is because attendance is down. Yeah. People are attending virtually from this. So you can actually help the church put on an informational workshop and seminar that will bring people back to the church, either virtually or live. And the churches will be glad to do that. That's a great idea, Lloyd. Okay, so that's the pray. Now talk about the where you pay and play. Yeah, pay and play. Yeah, so all of my kids were in basketball, soccer, football. I was a manager of our son's baseball team. I was a manager of the football team for Little League, which is funny because I'm crappy at it. I'm not good at the sports, but I can manage the thing. And what we did is we put together a roster with the parents' names, addresses, and phone numbers, and we put that out. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure, but I think in my business, maybe not in your guys' business, but in my business, it's called a prospect list. Yeah. Because once again, are you willing to go to your son's baseball or soccer game? Do you want to go to your daughter's t-ball game and find out that her best friend Betty didn't show up for practice today because her grandmother or aunt or father or mother died in a car accident, and you never thought enough of them to talk to them about life insurance? Mm-hmm. So again, that's prospect where you pray, where you play, and where you pay. And so my philosophy is, if I take my car to the and down at in our subdivision here, down at the end of the block by the main street, there's an auto repair place there. When my son lived at home, he took care of my son's car all the time. The auto repair guy did. If they earn my business, I have a right for them. If they've earned my business, I have a right to earn their business. Mm-hmm. If I spend $1,000 to get the brakes and the suspension fixed on his car, I've got a right to ask him about his business insurance. Yeah. I mean, I'm doing business with him. Now, here's the other thing about this that people don't think about. Every business that you do business with, that you have a business relationship, they do business with at least 5 other businesses. So even if you don't do business with them, but they feel like you did a good job, they could refer you. And we used to have the Take One brochure. It's the trifold. It was a little plastic container, and I would take it into businesses and ask the business owner's permission to leave it there so I could reduce the cost or increase the benefits of their customers' health insurance. What objection do you have if I leave it sitting right here and I put it on the counter and then I start backing up towards the door? Is that okay with you? As I back up towards the door? Yeah, that's not a problem. Take my business card out and hand it to him. He takes my business card. By the way, who handles your health insurance? That's the way we used to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these were businesses that I have done business before. And the funny thing about it is if you do business in a strip mall, the average strip mall, count tomorrow, this weekend, drive by strip mall and count. The average strip mall has 10 businesses in it. If you go to a pizza place, a Subway store, or a dry cleaner, there's 8 or 9 other businesses in that strip mall.
And they all know each other. The owners all know each other.
So I walk in and tell you, hey, I've got my Subway sandwich in my hand. Just wanted to stop by. Is the manager here? Just want to stop by and introduce myself. Here's my business card. You're there anyway. It doesn't cost you anything to do it.
Right.
So there's agents and advisors that say, well, I can't really afford to get leads. Well, here's $1,000 phone. Here's a $600 Apple Watch. I've got an iPad upstairs that was $700. I'm guessing a lot of you have the exact same thing. Let's be honest with each other. We told you we're not going to put any bull with you. We're going to call it straight. It's not that we can't afford it. It's that we don't think we can either convert the lead or close the lead. That's what the real issue was. I mean, if you turned a corner in your car and hit the curb and busted your sidewall and your spare tire was bald, or although some cars don't even have a spare tire in them anymore, right? Mm-hmm. You find $100 to go out and buy another tire. I mean, the truth is we don't need a lot of money to prospect, but we can prospect where we pay, where we play, and where we pray. I'll tell you something else. I got an email today. They're having, there's this group called InsurTech. Go look them up, InsurTech. Great organization. They're having a meeting in New York in May, at the end of May. And in there, they want me to buy a ticket to it. It's like $800 or something like that. Of course, I'm not going to do that. But they've got people in the insurance industry that are speaking. These are my prospects. So I click it and I go through all the speakers and I go to LinkedIn and I start sending them an invite. I sent 10 invites, 6 people connected with me. That took me less than a half hour to do. I'm not sure, but I think they're called prospects.
Right.
Prospects are everywhere.
We have Don Weber looks like he's waiting in the queue. Don, are you there? If you're there.
Don, if you want to come on and ask us a question in the chat box.
Or talk about this.
Yeah, in the chat box, there's a link. You can click it and I'll bring you on the show. It doesn't look like Don's there anymore. Don, if you're there, click the link again. I'll bring you in, buddy.
Okay, so question then. When you talked about, I want to go back to where you play. So I guess that's any sort of hobby, I mean, it could be, if you're if a woman's in a knitting club or if she's a golfer or tennis and, they play at the tennis club or they play at the local recreation center or whatever, that's something you play. Same thing with guys, or fishing, or whatever their hobby might be. Those are things you play, and you meet other people. Other people. You mentioned, Little League, where your kids go, so some of the parents of the other kids, and you might get a directory. But when you're talking with or when you identify neighbors and friends and the parents of your children's friends. Even family members, how do you broach the subject of what you do? We all feel very sensitive that we don't want to be perceived as the guy who's always pitching and whose only interest in the relationship is how much money I can make or can I sell you something? What do we say to distinguish ourselves, to engage the other person in a way that makes them feel valued, that makes them value us, makes them respect us, but makes them also responsive? I mean, I'll take a very simplistic one that I've experienced myself in the property casualty market, whether it's Allstate, State Farm, Farmers, whatever. My experience has been those guys are trained on one thing. If they meet somebody, they say, hey, I'm an insurance agent. If I can save you some money on your auto or your homeowners, would you be interested in getting a quote? That's their pitch. And they say that all the time. And what do people say? They go, okay, I know what insurance agents do. I think insurance agents are pretty nice people. They don't really bother me. And either I'm happy with my insurance agent that I have, in which case I said, no, I don't really need a quote, thanks. Or I'm not happy and I don't get the attention from my insurance agent. And I said, yeah, give me a call. Give me your card. Call me. Here's my number, whatever. And that's their pitch. And they learn to get, they develop their own style around their personality, and they learn to say it over and over and over again, and they rely on it. And it's not complicated. And they don't have to be apologetic. They just say, this is what I do. I save people money on their auto insurance. Can I save you some money? No? Good. Move on to somebody else. What could an annuity sales professional or a financial advisor or a life insurance or a health, what could they say that to their friends, to their family, to people they play with, to broach the subject and engage them?
Well, before I answer that question, let's put something in place first, okay? So the first thing is have a landing page, maybe 3 or 4 landing pages that address a couple of the topics that I'm going to mention. Have a sequence of emails and an email funnel put together that you can send out to people. Now, what do you say to people? Well, I think the best thing to say, the best resource, let me say this, the best resource to know what to say, and I'm going to give you 2 different answers on this one, is the news. Because last month, inflation was 7.4%. Wholesale inflation was, 7.9%. Wholesale inflation was 7.4%. Inflation this month is 8.4%. I'm not sure, but I bet anybody you talk to in the next 2 weeks, if you comment about how inflation has increased your grocery bill, your gas bill, and that Panda Express that I love, which I used to pay $5.70 for, and now we're paying almost $8 for, that it's irritating, people are going to comment about that. And I bet you could have a quick 3-4 minute conversation about, that's one of the things that I'm glad I've been able to do with some of my prospects is help them address inflation and reduce the chances of their retirement savings being eaten up by inflation. Because other than a hamburger, what else can you get that's not going to eat you up? I mean, that's a simple thing to say. And when they go, yeah, that would be great. Do you mind if I send you an email with some information about it? No. Okay, thanks. I'll send it to you. And that's it. You send them an email. They click on it. They get a free download. You click on it. They take them to a landing page. You got a short little video there where you tell your story. They click here to schedule 15 minutes with you. Bring value.
Yeah.
Now, I said I'd tell you 2 things. Here's a second thing. Go to alltop.com. I'm going to type that in the private chat. Alltop.com. ALLTOP.com. That is a site that aggregates news stories from all across the different venues. And you can go to that site. You can pick 2 or 3 different stories. You can click on them, take the hyperlink out of the address bar, type in email, and 5 ways to fight inflation, right? Hey, John, we were talking about fighting inflation. I thought this was an interesting article. Made me think of you. Click here. By the way, you download my worksheet that I help clients with to reduce taxes on their Social Security. Mm-hmm. Click here if you want 15 minutes. Boom, send the email out. You don't have to be a great writer. You don't have to think about all this great content. The federal government keeps dissonance in the marketplace every day. The news station, if it bleeds, it leads, right? That's the philosophy of news stations. So they're programming the people you talk to every day with all the negative crap out there. And you can be a breath of fresh air, but you have to have the courage to bring it up. You should not be embarrassed that you sell annuities. You shouldn't be. You drive a car. Do you know that you bought it from a salesperson? You own a house. Do you know that you bought it from a salesperson? You bought groceries at the grocery store. You know that the grocery store bought that from a wholesale vendor. My sister worked for Daisy Queen, the cream cheese place, and she Sam's Club and all those places, and sold sour cream. But the only person who's ever surprised that we're in sales is us.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's so much that we're in sales. I think it's that we're in a type of sales that people do not buy of their own volition, or very seldom buy of their own volition. For example, and we've talked about this in previous shows, if somebody says, I sell annuities, most people say, well, I don't know what annuities are, so I'm not interested.
So quit
And
saying
then there's people who think they know what annuities are and say, oh no, I would never buy any of those, I'm not interested. Now, if the same guy says, I sell guaranteed income contracts for retirement, people have a different response to that. You sell what? Guaranteed income contracts for retirement. So, kind of like Social Security, where you get a check every month for as long as you live. Yeah. Would you like to have a supplement to your Social Security that guarantees you're going to get a check every month for as long as you live? Yeah. Everybody wants that. You say, well, do you know it's called an annuity? No, I didn't know that. But that's irrelevant. Who cares what you call it? Right? So the problem is, and you mentioned this is part of again, we're getting back to the marketing plan. The second item on there was, what's your business? What are you in business for? So if you say, I'm in the business of selling annuities, you missed it. That's not what you're in the business for. You're in the business of helping people get guaranteed retirement income for as long as they live. That's your business. And if you're not proud of that, you're missing the point.
Quit talking about what you sell and start talking about what people get. I wouldn't say that I sell guaranteed income. I would say I help people make sure that they have a guaranteed income in retirement, so they're not stuck with just Social Security.
Well, that's even better. That's even better. But the point is,
that's in fact what you're actually selling. And when you say that to people, they're going to say, "How do you do that?" Yeah. And if you can get a prospect to say, "How do you do that?" Well, it's like giving a haircut over the internet, right? You got the scissors. We need to get a meeting together, see if it's a good fit. I mean, that's the perfect inroad to it. But So I don't know how
so getting back to the marketing plan, and as I said, I've been in the business 5-10 years. You're telling me that the first thing I should do is determine how much money I need to make each year, break that down into shorter periods, and then find resources that are going to allow me, or find a process, whether it's lead generation or lead resources that are going to give me a continuous flow of new people to talk to, or I'm going to commit to a habit, whether it's making 50 phone calls a week or sending out so many letters, who my target market is. All of those things have to be determined to say, this is what my process is. This is my marketing plan. I want to make this much money. Got to break it down this way. This is what I'm going to do every week to achieve those numbers, and then execute on that plan. Would that be that? I mean, those are the 3 steps.
Absolutely.
Decide what you need, put the resources together, and then follow the plan.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? I couldn't have said it better myself. I would add one thing to that. Get involved in your community. Join the BNI, the business networking group local to you. Join the Lions Club. Join some local organizations where you can meet with other business people. If for no other reason, all top is news stories. Correct, Dan? Yeah, absolutely. But click on the links. They have all kind of different stories on there. But you'll be around other business leaders. And here's why. I told somebody this yesterday. I told them one of the first things you're going to get by showing up at a BNA meeting is you're going to feel like you're going to realize that the other business owners there are just stupid as you are. They don't know any more about marketing themselves and stuff than you do.
That's very true.
You're going to build relationships with people.
Yeah.
And some of them are going to drop off. New ones are going to come in. You start the meeting off by standing up and giving your name and telling what your business is. Yeah. And then everyone throws out a topic of what business problem they're having. Everyone discusses it. And you build relationships, and you get referrals, and you get introductions. And you have time for that. These meetings are an hour. You can, if you join 3 clubs, join the Lion clubs and,
Rotary.
Rotary. I belonged to Rotary for years. And BNI, join BNI. They're always looking for speakers. Don't go there to sell or market your product. Go there to talk to people about the problems that they're having. Relate with people. Great stories are about people, not things. And
Right.
so go there and tell great stories, and put yourself out there. But do that in addition. I'm not a lead vendor. I mean, I can coach you on how to run a Facebook ad and get some decent response. I can help you with email marketing. I can do that kind of stuff. But once that's in place, like I tell people all the time, if you hire me as a coach and you're still paying me after 6 months, either I did a really lousy job or you didn't implement a damn thing we talked about.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be paying anybody after 6 months. But if you get a system in place, that system, you should be able to walk away from that system, and that system should instruct you and inform you of what you need to do next. But you need to back it up with your own activities.
So you touched on something, and let's close on this for today, this week.
So let me read what Dan said here. Dan said, so I have to build a website and landing pages and email campaigns. You don't have to. But again, we're talking about a whole marketing campaign. So if you're looking to build your business, build it out and make it an income that you want, I'd have to talk to you personally to know the answers to these things. But today, I mean, if you go out, just type in Google, what % of consumers check out social media before they buy from somebody? And you're going to find out that like 80% of consumers go out and check out your social media first. So yeah, you absolutely. Now don't go spending $20,000 to build a damn website. You can get
absolutely not. In fact, to answer that question, the question is no. You do not have to do any of those things. However, you probably need all those things. You just don't want to do them yourself. That's not your area of expertise. Right. When we talk about resources, there are tons of vendors out there, our company included, that does those things for you. And because of the cost efficiencies and aggregated over many agents, we can typically do it cheaper than if you were to do it for yourself. But you shouldn't do that. You are a sales professional. That's your business. You learn your business inside and out. You do your share perfectly and outsource what you don't do. But here's my question. I think that relates to it as well. You just mentioned, Lloyd, that if you're coaching somebody for 6 months and they still need you, that either they didn't implement what you told them to do, or you're a lousy coach. And I think that
if we're coaching on the same thing, like
if
you hire me to coach you on prospecting, and in 6 months you're still paying me to teach you how to prospect, either I'm really lousy at it or you didn't do anything I told you to do. Right.
So the 6 months is important, because here's the thing that I see. I know I was guilty of it. I think probably you were. Most salespeople, especially in the beginning, they want results right now. Right now. Who can I sell right now? I told you that story about that mentor of mine was the first guy to advertise in the Wall Street Journal, $1 million term insurance policies. And his philosophy was, he stood up at a life underwriters meeting one day and he said, my philosophy is I want to walk into an auditorium every morning at 8 o'clock with 1,000 people in there. And he goes, I want to say, who's ready to buy life insurance today? Raise your hand. And he goes, statistically, 2 or 3 out of that 1,000 are going to raise their hand for whatever reason. He goes, I want to say, you 2 or 3 come with me. The rest of you, I'll see you tomorrow. His philosophy was just numbers, but he just said, over time, there will be some people who are ready today, but the vast majority are not ready today. They're not ready now. So I want you to speak to, and this will close the meeting for today, our discussion, talk about patience. How part of a marketing plan, part of a marketing strategy is it's long term. It's not how do I eat, how do I feed myself today? If you're in a situation where you don't have the money to pay the rent, you're in the wrong business. You can't do that in business. So talk about having patience with your marketing plan.
Well, the reason we don't have patience with the marketing plan, just to be honest with ourselves, is because we need the money. Yeah, we approach putting together a marketing plan kind of late in the game, and we're already behind the ball, and we need to pay our house payment this month. That's why we're so desperate when we get the lead. So when you have a good marketing plan, it takes about 90 days for that marketing plan to start working, and for you to start working the marketing plan. That's why there's value in having 3 or 4 different
Yeah.
lead resources. If you need to make money this week, then go buy some internet leads. You're going to get them within 24 hours. And if you call them within 5 minutes of getting them, you'll get an appointment with maybe 25% of them. And within 2 weeks, you'll get a sale. There's no question about it. To drop $500 and do a direct mail program, you'll get 15 cards. And if you're a halfway decent salesperson, you'll make 2 sales.
But keep the other 985 and continue marketing to them,
because that's your marketing plan.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah. So but if all you're doing, if you're waking up every week thinking about I've got to buy leads, you don't have a business.
Yeah.
The lead company owns your business.
Yeah.
And until you give the lead company money, you're not going to have a business. So how do you get the money for a marketing plan? Today, right now, today, make a commitment. You started the call off today talking about commitment. Today, make a commitment. Dan, my email address is my name, Lloyd@LloydLofton.com. Email me and I'll give you a list of some lead vendors. Make a commitment today to save 10% of every dime that comes in your home. Every dime that comes in your home. If you get a rebate, save 10% of it. If your wife works or your husband works, save 10% of their income. Save 10% of your income. And then turn around and reduce your spending by 10%. Don't go out to eat, but stop buying Starbucks, right? Put creamer in your regular coffee. Take the money that you're buying Starbucks with, set that aside until you can buy 1 telemarket lead, and then build your. When you can make those kind of sacrifices, then you're honest with yourself and you're more serious and curious about building your business. But if you swing through Panda Express and you buy their plate for $7.95, and in the morning you go over to Starbucks and you get your large mocha frappuccino, which is my favorite, and you spend $7 for it, and you buy that egg thing for $7 for it, it's not that you can't afford leads. They're just not important enough to you. I mean, we just have to be honest with ourselves.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our hour for this week. You want to send us home here, Lloyd, for the weekend?
Listen, everybody, you know that this is true. You are a highly trained, licensed professional. When you look in the mirror, you need to see a highly trained, licensed professional. If you don't see a highly trained, licensed professional, neither will your prospect. In fact, your prospect will see exactly what you see in the mirror. So here's your assignment this next week, between now and next Friday. Your assignment is every night go to bed and in your mind, say to yourself, I forgive you. Just forgive yourself. Whatever mistakes you made, whatever you forgot to do, avoided doing, neglected to do, intentionally didn't do, subconsciously didn't do, which I don't think we ever subconsciously don't do something. Forgive yourself. And when you wake up tomorrow morning, take your notepad. You always say, I have a notepad and a pen all the time. Take your notepad and make a list of what you're going to accomplish tomorrow. Now, what you're going to do, what you're going to accomplish. And at the end of the day, if you can't, and make sure it's not more than 3 things. At the end of the day, if you can't scratch those 3 things off, you're not done working. That's it for me, guys.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to us this week. And next week, I think we're going to talk about what to say to get in the door. And I mean that metaphorically. What to say to engage your prospects. So we'll talk about that next week. Not quite an elevator pitch, but for now, have a great weekend. Thank you.
Take care, guys. Happy Mother's Day, everybody.